Greetings, I'm Charles, I'm 54 years old. I'm 6'1" when I'm fully assembled and weigh about, last weigh in I was at 230 pounds. Alright, what I'm going to talk about today is being transported in a wheelchair. Now, many times, and me typically, I'll need to have a transport service that actually takes me to doctor's appointments and physical therapy and things of that nature. And I will be transported in my wheelchair, which means I will roll out of the house in the wheelchair, I will roll up into a specially equipped van into a wheelchair. I will be my wheelchair will be strapped down in place to make it secure, and I will also be strapped down in place to make me secure. So what I wanted to show you is, over the course of time, I've seen things and that has happened in these type of transport situations, and I thought it'd be a good idea if I give people a good, give them kind of an overview of the way what you should be looking for when you are being transported in a transport vehicle in the wheelchair. These are things that I care about. Okay, well, before I get into that, let me say, because you can't tell from your angle, I am a double amputee. I'm below the knee amputee on my right side. I've had that for several years, and I'm above the knee amputation on my left side. That has been relatively recent. So, okay, let me go ahead and get into it. First of all, this type of wheelchair that I have is a pretty typical shape of a wheelchair. I do have some optional parts and pieces on it, but my understanding from people who should know this say that about 80% of everybody in the United States has basically this type of a wheelchair, which is basically a seat with big wheels basically kind of under your butt, and the little wheels, casters wheels, essentially on the front. Alrighty. Now, first of all, when you get up into one of these transport vehicles, typically facing forward, and depending on what which state or municipality you're in, some of the rules will be different about these things. But what I've come across is typically the wheelchair. Of course, I would be in the wheelchair, but typically the wheelchair is strapped down using one of these type of devices. It's just got a hook, it's got nylon webbing, it's got some kind of a ratcheting device. Either it's a ratcheting device that's manual that you just crank down on like this, or it's a ratcheting device that goes into a thing that kind of sucks it back up, kind of like the way your seatbelt does. When it starts going up, it kind of locks in. So in any case, the way this work is basically need to be strapped down at 4 points. Sometimes people say 3 is good enough. Well, for optimum safety, you definitely want to be strapped down at 4 points. And what you'd be looking for is a hook needs to be attached to the frame. If it's on something soft, that's bad. So the seat or the back or the sling seat, just anything solid, hooked to your seat belts that you have on your chair, that's bad. Okay, so you want it to be hooked on the frame, and the angle of this strap, which I don't know if you can tell very well, but this strap should be essentially minimally or maximally 45 degrees. So it's hooked to the frame and goes to this at 45 degrees. If it's more up and down, you're going to be less stable. The farther it is away from the front of the wheelchair, the more stable that this will be. In addition, is the farther out, going away from the center of your wheelchair, the strap is mounted, the more stable it'll be. The closer it gets to straight in front of the wheelchair, the less stable it'll be, and if it's within the sides of the wheelchair, then it is definitely far less stable. The same goes for the back. In the back, it needs to be hooked onto a frame someplace, and it needs to have a similar, something less than a 45-degree angle. So, you know, something like this is about 45 degrees. This is 90 degrees straight up and down. This would be about 45 degrees. And then the farther out, it's like 30 degrees and like that. But the more secure it'll be. So you want this on the front on both sides, and the back on both sides of the frame on the back. Now, for a little bit of explanation, when I say the frame is almost anything that won't move or come off. So the seat belts don't count because they're soft, as I said right to begin with. If it'll come off, it's not the frame. So on my wheelchair, I've got these hand rests. Come off, no straps. That is not secure, it's not safe. Okay, and that of course would be on both sides. These wheels come right off. Hooking to wheels is not secure. I don't care what they tell you. It's not safe. Okay, this thing that my armrest is on, it comes off. No straps. It's not safe. Let me even this up just a little bit. Which means this wheel also, you don't want to have anything hooked to anything that moves, or anything that comes off, or anything that's soft. And we'll have another exception that I'll show you here in a minute once I get that far. There we go. Okie dokie. Alright, once again, this is soft and it comes off. That's the seat. Nothing hooks to that. It's not safe. This is the back. Even if this didn't come off, it would be soft. And it's not safe. So that goes. Now in this wheelchair, I have these things that are called, they're called something specific, anti-tipping wheels. I have some wheels that, the big wheels pretty much hide them, but they come about right here. But these will actually flip down and keep me from tipping over if you know, if I have that concern. But in any case, those things will pull out also. They move. That's not safe. Nothing should be hooked to this. One last thing that's an exception, and these will come off, it's just kind of a pain in the neck. The canes, or the hand grip bar that goes all the way down here to the frame, these things are in a situation where they can easily be bent because of how long they are, and just a shifting of weight, especially when you're in a vehicle that's traveling at any speed. If there's a quick stop, doesn't matter what your weight is, if you weighed 85 pounds, it could be enough to damage these with the amount of leverage, depending on where a hook was on it. So that is not safe. So we don't want to have anything hooked to the seat belts. We don't want to have anything hooked to this seat. We don't want to have anything hooked to anything that moves, which would be the wheelie wheels, and it would be the front caster wheels. Okay, so basically, it needs to be hooked. Oh, I'll point out something else that it'll be difficult to see. But on the inside, there's kind of this cross frame. Maybe it'll be easier to see from this angle, I don't know. But there's a cross frame that comes under the seat. It goes from here, it goes from this side at the top to this side at the bottom, and then from this side at the top to this side at the bottom. Obviously, they move. Nothing should be hooked to that. So basically, The only thing that is safe when you're being transported is if those straps, the hooks and straps, are connected in some form or fashion to the frame, the basic frame on this wheelchair. And some of them are a little bit different, of course. But the basic frame is from here, and it goes to here, and it goes to here, and right here to where these canes go in as part of the frame, and it comes from here down to here, down to here, and back up to here. So this area on either side is the only place that you should let anybody hook any of these hooks or straps to in when you're being transported in a transport vehicle. This will definitely be the safest, most secure way to travel, and it's a heck of a lot less likely to damage your wheelchair or yourself. So hopefully that was helpful. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but unfortunately I've had plenty of experiences that cause me to believe that a lot of these guys do it wrong on a regular basis. Oh, in addition to that, the seatbelt on the wheelchair, even if you're inclined to use the seatbelt in the wheelchair, that is not DOT certified safe as a wheelchair, as a retention device in a vehicle. So they should have a seatbelt, a separate seatbelt that'll go around you and across. And one of the other things, when you do have that kind of seatbelt that goes across, kind of across your chest, like in a car does, goes diagonally across you there typically, is don't let these guys put the buckle back somewhere where you can't reach it. Because if you ever were in a situation where you're in an accident, you've got to be able to reach the buckle so that you can get out. So I know people do this all the time. I have to tell them, even the guys that know better do it because they're just in a hurry. And I say, you got to put that buckle up here in the front, because I haven't ever needed it yet, but if I ever got in a situation where I needed to be able to get out of that seat belt, I want to be able to get out of the seat belt. So hopefully that was helpful to you, and something for you to think about when you are choosing a transport service. Sorry for this unfortunate close-up.